What if paradise wasn't just a dream? What if it had a name? A place where time pauses, breath deepens, and the soul remembers itself. This is not a fantasy. This is Bali. Welcome to the island of the gods, a sanctuary of serenity, a mosaic of color, culture, and consciousness. This is a journey across sacred temples, vibrant communities, ancient rituals, lush landscapes, and spiritual depths. This is the wonders of Bali, Indonesia. You don't come to Bali, you arrive in Bali, and suddenly, you remember what it means to feel again. Forget everything you've read in the airport magazine. This island doesn't care about your bucket list. Bali isn't a place you conquer, it's a force that humbles you, wraps around your soul, and whispers, slow down, watch, listen. The first thing that hits you isn't the view, it's the air, thick with humidity, spiced with clove smoke. It carries sound like honey, roosters crowing, scooter horns, the distant hum of a gamelan orchestra tuning up in someone's backyard. I landed in Denpasar like a man escaping noise, but Bali didn't meet me with silence. It met me with ritual. At every doorstep, a square palm leaf offering, flowers, rice, a lit stick of incense still trailing its smoky prayer to the gods. No one makes a show of it, they just do it. Every day. Gratitude here isn't posted. It's placed. And then it starts, the real unraveling. The volcano rises in the distance, Mount Agung, sacred and terrifying. Not just a mountain, a god. Balinese mythology says this is the navel of the world. And when it breathes, the island listens. I chased the sunrise up Mount Batur at 3 a.m. My legs ached, my lungs burned. But when that first light cracked across the clouds, all the pain fell silent. Suddenly, the earth was gold, and I was no longer a traveler, I was a witness. Hours later, I was underwater in Ahmed. Coral gardens bloomed like underwater temples. A WY shipwreck lay broken beneath the sea, now covered in life, as if even history here is reborn. That's the trick of Bali. It takes the broken and makes it beautiful again. I rode a scooter through Sideman Valley. No map, no plan, just green hills that looked like God himself had painted them with a fine brush. Children waved from rice fields. Old women carried baskets taller than me on their heads while laughing. And in that moment, I realized something that should have been obvious. These people carry joy like it's part of their spine. I ended up at a roadside stall, no tourists. I ate babi guling, spit-roasted pork with turmeric and cracked skin that crunched like fire. A woman handed me sambal so spicy it made me cry, and then laughed like she just blessed me. That's how Bali feeds you, not just through your mouth, through every damn pore. In Ubud, I watched a girl dance the legong, her eyes flickering like candlelight. It's not performance, it's possession, like the gods have entered her body just for these 5 minutes. You don't clap at the end. You exhale. The thing is, the deeper you go, the louder the silence becomes. I stood at the edge of Uluwatu Temple, perched high on a jagged limestone cliff that seemed to defy gravity. Below, the Indian Ocean churned and crashed with a force that echoed through my bones. The wind was strong, salty, and wild like the spirit of the temple itself. Built in the 11th century, this sea temple, known as Pura Luhur Uluwatu, is dedicated to the spirits of the sea and the guardian deity, Rudra. It's one of Bali's 9 directional temples, strategically placed to ward off evil from the southwest. Monkeys roam freely along the paths, mischievous and clever, as if they too were guardians of this sacred place. As the sun descended, turning the sky from lavender to fire, the Kachak fire dance began. Dozens of bare-chested men sat in a circle, their voices rising in rhythmic chants, chak, 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 faster, louder, hypnotic. A dancer appeared, draped in golden silk and red sashes embodying Sita from the Ramayana epic. Sparks flew into the night sky as flames licked the air, and in that moment, myth and reality melted together. Time felt suspended. My heart pounded, not just from the spectacle, but from the overwhelming presence of something ancient, something divine. The temple wasn't just a structure, it was a bridge between worlds, between past and present, spirit and sea. And as I stood there, I felt both reverent and alive, like I'd brushed against the eternal. I joined locals and travelers alike at the Kachak fire dance, a mesmerizing chorus of chanting men and leaping flames that made the air itself feel enchanted. One of the most awe-inspiring places I visited was Tanah Lot Temple. Perched on a rocky islet surrounded by crashing waves, it looked as though it floated between heaven and sea. This 16th century temple is one of Bali's most iconic landmarks, built by the revered priest Dang Hyang Nararta after he experienced a vision on the very spot where it now stands. As I arrived, the tide was low, allowing me to walk across the stone path that vanishes underwater during high tide. Pilgrims with flower offerings moved slowly, barefoot, their heads bowed. The scent of incense drifted with the wind, blending with the salty air. I stood close to the base where a sacred freshwater spring bubbles out beside the sea, an eternal paradox of purity amidst salt. Locals believe Tanah Lot is protected by sea serpents, conjured by Nararta himself. And as the sky began to burn with the colors of sunset, I could almost see the serpentine coils in the waves, guarding the sacred rock. The temple itself is closed to outsiders, preserving its sanctity, but watching it from the cliff, silhouetted against a blood-orange sky, I understood some places are not meant to be entered. They are meant to be honored from a distance, felt with the soul. It was a moment of stillness, of reverence, the kind that imprints itself in your memory forever. I wandered through emerald rice terraces, their curved layers cascading like steps built by gods. Tegalalang rice terraces, just north of Ubud, offered a view so harmonious it felt like nature had composed a poem in green. The terraces stretched endlessly across the landscape, sculpted by generations of Balinese farmers using the ancient subak irrigation system, a practice that is both spiritual and ecological, passed down since the 9th century. I walked along narrow mud paths between the paddies, the earth damp beneath my feet. The morning mist hung low, and dragonflies hovered like blessings above the stalks. Farmers in conical hats moved silently, their sickles rhythmically slicing through the rice, each motion an act of reverence. I found myself at the sacred Monkey Forest Sanctuary, a place where myth, mischief, and memory converge. Ancient banyan trees arched over mossy stone paths, their roots tangled like old stories. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and incense, and every footstep echoed like a whisper in a temple. Long-tailed macaques, hundreds of them, watched me with eyes that gleamed with curiosity and cunning. They darted through the trees, groomed each other beneath shrines, and sat solemnly atop temple gates as if guarding ancient secrets. This wasn't just a wildlife attraction, it was a living, breathing ecosystem of spirit and culture. The sanctuary is home to 3 temples, each more hidden and haunting than the last. At Pura Dalem Agung Padang Tegal, the Temple of the Dead, I watched worshippers bring offerings. Woven palm baskets filled with marigolds, rice, and incense, placed gently beneath the gaze of stone guardians. Then there was Besaki, the mother temple of Bali, resting like a crown jewel on the southern slopes of Mount Agung. The moment I arrived, I could feel it, a silence that roared louder than any city. This wasn't just a temple. This was the spiritual heart of the island. Clouds rolled low and slow across the mountain's shoulders, cloaking the multi-tiered pagodas in shifting veils of mist. I climbed the long stone stairway, each step flanked by statues of gods and demons, guardians of stories older than time. The scent of burning incense wrapped around me, and gamelan music drifted softly from the upper courtyards. Besaki isn't just one temple. It's a complex of over 80 temples, each aligned with the sacred geometry of Balinese cosmology. Pura Penataran Agung, the main temple, towers above the others. It's where the three great gods, Brahma the creator, Vishnu the preserver, and Shiva the destroyer, are worshipped in eternal balance. As I stood on a terrace overlooking the plains below, I watched villagers in white sarongs and golden sashes carry offerings on their heads, fruit, flowers, holy water, moving in harmony like a living prayer. A priest sprinkled my forehead with tirta, blessed water, and chanted a mantra that seemed to vibrate through the very stone beneath my feet. My journey eventually led me to the coastline, where Bali breathes through its golden sands and rolling tides. Kuta Beach came first, a stretch of shoreline that hums with both energy and memory. In the early morning, it's calm and vast, a mirror to the sky. Fishermen haul in nets under the pink dawn while surfers, silhouettes against the horizon, chase the perfect break. Kuta is where Bali greets the world. Decades ago, it was a sleepy village. Today, it's a melting pot of travelers, dreamers, seekers, and sun chasers. I walked barefoot along the surf, the warm tide washing over my feet. Street vendors called out with laughter, offering fresh coconuts and hand-woven bracelets. Children built castles in the sand while music from a beach bar drifted over the breeze. Not far north, the mood shifted as I entered Seminyak. Sleek, stylish, and a little slower. Seminyak wears elegance like a loose sarong, effortless. The beach here feels more refined, with luxurious daybeds lining the sand in minimalist villas, peeking through swaying palms. The waves are gentler, the energy more grown up. I dined at a clifftop restaurant where candlelight danced over seafood platters and chilled glasses of wine. A jazz trio played softly as couples toasted to moments that felt eternal. Boutiques lined the nearby streets, offering handcrafted jewelry, batik textiles, and locally blended perfumes that smelled like rain and spice. But what struck me most was the art. Everywhere, on walls, in cafes, on sidewalks, Bali's creativity spilled freely in Seminyak. Paintings told myths, graffiti whispered dreams, and even the desserts looked sculpted. Here, Bali showed me her modern face. Sophisticated, yet never detached from soul. But Bali isn't a museum, it's a contradiction. Canggu is buzzing. Beach clubs, digital nomads, espresso and Wi-Fi. 20 minutes later, you're surrounded by duck farmers and temples wrapped in black and white cloth, symbols of harmony between good and evil. Here, opposites don't fight, they balance. And that balance, it's everywhere. In the rice fields carved like staircases for the gods, in the teeth-chiseling ceremonies for teenagers transitioning to adulthood, in the way every meal, every building, every carving is built with spiritual architecture, aligned with mountains, rivers, spirits, intention. Even the dead matter, maybe especially the dead. In Bali, funerals are festivals. Cremations happen in massive towers carried through the streets, because death here isn't the end. It's an upgrade, and I wonder, what would life look like if we all believed that? On my last night, I drove to Uluwatu. I watched the sun bleed into the ocean. A monkey stole my sunglasses. I didn't care, because behind me, the Kechak dance had begun. Dozens of men in concentric circles chanting, chak, kak, kak. No instruments, just voice, rhythm, fire. In the center, Rama fights to save Sita from a demon king. Ancient myth told by bare feet and smoke and sound. No translations needed, only feeling. And that's Bali's real magic. It doesn't beg to be understood. It demands to be felt. It's not perfect, it's not polished, but damn, it's alive. You don't do Bali, you let it undo you. And if you're lucky, you don't leave lighter, you leave heavier. Bali is not just a place, it's a teacher, a mirror, a rhythm, a song. If you come seeking pictures, you'll find beauty. If you come seeking healing, you'll find grace. But if you come with your heart open, you may just find yourself. And so as the tide rose and night took the beach, I whispered a prayer. Not goodbye, just thank you. Terima kasih Bali. You were never a destination, you were a home. If this journey moved you, if it sparked a dream, a memory, or even a breath of stillness, then I invite you to share this story. Like, subscribe. Tell me about the place your soul longs to see. Let's keep the wonder alive. Because maybe the world isn't just meant to be seen, maybe it's meant to be felt. And maybe, just maybe, your next journey begins now.